So, hi church, fantastic to be with you again. Loving doing these interviews. I'm finding out lots more about people, and whenever we find out their stories and we find out their journey with Jesus, we always get encouraged. So I'm with Miss Jackie Waterman today. Look at her. Say hi, Jackie.
Good morning, everyone.
She's a bit nervous.
Very.
Been thinking about all this all the time. It's not supposed to be something to scare you, but we're just looking forward to hearing a bit about you, Jackie. So kick off, tell us a little bit about you, family, work, just put us in the picture.
Okay, family. I'm married to Chris. I have two children, Nicola and Mark. Nicola has 3 children and Mark has 2 children. I worked as a TA at Warnford School for about 12 years. Started off as a teacher, found it very stressful because I worked in an inner city school. Met Chris and got married, so I decided not to go back into teaching, and then the family came along quite quickly, so left work for quite a while and went back in as a teaching assistant, working with various children with special needs. So
Brilliant.
Quite many years being a teaching assistant.
Well, anyone who knows you knows you've got an amazing caring heart, so that's amazing. And just tell us a little bit about when did you become a Christian? When did Jesus become real to you?
Oh, it was when I can remember it so clearly. I was only 7. I used to go to an evangelical church just up the road from me, and we could walk up there. And they used to have holiday clubs. And I remember one day, he was similar to you, just a leader. He wasn't an ordained minister or anything like that. Anyway, he was talking about the love of God, and we'd been singing that song, My Heart is Bubbling Over with Its Joy, Joy, Joy. I don't know whether you know that, but many people listening might.
Sounds like a classic.
Yeah, and he just talked about God's love, and I just thought, I want some of that. That, in my childlike mind, I want to meet Jesus. I want Jesus in my life. So I prayed. I don't remember the prayer, but basically I asked Jesus to come into my life. I wanted him to be, us to live together, really. And that was
Brilliant.
back when I was 7, but it's been a long journey. It is for us all.
Yeah.
So, do you want me to go on from there, or?
Go on, keep going, girl.
No,
You're doing well.
I was just going to sort of say my Christian walk, really, in a short space of time, hopefully. Then I remember praying as a child at night, but then I got confirmed. I went to Church of England school, so I had all that sort of background, and then I was confirmed, and then I suppose about 10, 11, I started to really move away from God, and God wasn't in my life, basically. I over years, I sort of went more and more downhill.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing major, but yeah, not in a good place. I didn't really realise, but I was becoming more and more in chains, if you like. That's one way I can put it, but without realising, until I got into my 20s, and I knew that things weren't right. And I remember one night, I lived on my own at the time in a bedsit, and woke up in the middle of the night and I couldn't sleep, and I got up, and I used to smoke at the time, and I was literally chain smoking and feeling desperately unhappy. And I said to God, if you're out there, you've got to help me. I need that help. I got to that point, not suicidal or anything like that, but just really low. And I knew my lifestyle was not on a good path. So that was that. And then about 3 weeks later, I met Chris, and Chris was amazing because I was pretty messed up mentally. And we used to spend hours in the pub, and I'd talk about rubbish, and how I was feeling. And eventually I got out of that. Slowly, I got married, had our first child, Nicola, and I remember after I'd given birth, I just thought, this is amazing. It's not just Chris and I in this, God's in this. Oh, I've got to say, when I got married, wasn't thinking about God, but wanted to get married in church. We got married in a little chapel, and I really felt the presence of God there. When we were giving our vows, I felt I was saying those vows to God, which I thought was, well, I never think about God, really. So yeah, I could talk quite a lot. But that's basically it. And I started going back to church, and then that's been the journey ever since. So
sure.
That's Sam.
And you talked there about, right, at 7 years old, that the love of God being something that in a sense, really touched you, and that was what you desired. And I know that's in a sense been a bit of a lifelong pursuit and something you've gone after. So just share a little bit about what's been going on the last sort of year or two, really, because
it's been quite a journey. It has been a journey. I've always had, I've listened to lots of people's testimonies over the years, and people really speaking about the deep love that they've actually physically, mentally, spiritually experienced all in one. I've had my times, very high times with God, when I've been moved and I know that he's there, but I know he's got so much more for me. I know I want to go deeper and deeper into a relationship with him. And that's been something that I have struggled with. And as we were talking earlier, I know for me, the blockage is me. I know God's there just wanting to give so much more to me. But I have struggled with fear for a huge part of my life. And I'm only just beginning to recognize that in me. I thought I'd got this blockage because, I don't know, all sorts of blockage. I thought it was physical. Anyway, recently, it's fear that's God's showing me, and him saying to me, you've got to trust me. You've got to trust me. And even today I woke up and I felt really quite, not sick, but oh dear, what am I going to say? And I started thinking what I was going to say, and I thought, I've got to trust God, and this is happening more and more. I broke down in car park in Whitney last week. Normally I would have panicked, and I thought, God, you've got it, it'll be fine. And I just made a call, and the man turned up, and it's just, I'm just starting. I feel as if I'm just starting out, which is ridiculous. I've been a Christian for well since I was 7, but I seriously from about to age 28, but it's that fear. And I know that God will, I know that the more I trust, the more I'm going to experience God's love and the relationship that I really want with him, and to be a witness for others. I want to be a real witness, not just doing it through the motions. It's got to be my life, because when you see people who are full of the love of God, it's so natural. And that's what I want to be, completely natural.
Brilliant.
Natural, probably not the word, but supernatural.
No. Yeah, naturally supernatural. And there was I can't remember, it was a few months ago now, wasn't it? There was one of our routine, normal Bible studies. We were just talking a bit about Holy Spirit was in, because we were going through Acts, and you just sort of shared a bit of your heart and what happened.
Well, I was sharing basically what I've shared just now about really desiring that love and wanting to know the Spirit in me, and wanting more of that Spirit. And basically, you prayed with me, and I know that, I just had a real, I couldn't stop crying, could I? And I didn't really know I was crying, but I knew God was there. And it was a very powerful experience, and I could not stop the tears. It was nothing I could control at that point. It just whoosh, it came out. So I guess I had some release there, and a couple of people gave me a word which has been really, really helpful. It was really helpful to me. In fact, Brilliant. I was sharing with Janet, who was one who gave me the word yesterday, to saying, that the picture she gave me as well, it's just as she said. So, but I know there's still that tension within me, but I know the more I rest in God's love, the more I will feel free. And
and that whole thing of like the Father heart of God, and because out of that prayer time, you ended up going away for a few days, didn't you, to a conference? Tell us a little bit about that.
That was the Father Heart Ministries. They call it the A School, but basically they have real emphasis on the Father and what that means. And again, that was really powerful. There was an evening there, and I had a split second, well, not split, probably about 3 or 4 seconds, where I felt God saying that I was his child, that I'd come home, and that I was safe. And again, at that time, it was the tears that I just could not stop. And unfortunately, well, not unfortunately, but it was the second night we'd been there, and afterwards I thought, oh gosh, whatever people are going to think. But I thought, well, it was given to me by God, and that it was just so releasing, that little, you're safe, you're with me now. And yeah, so that was a really powerful experience. The whole week was good. Still, learning more about the Father's love for me and resting in that. And that's quite helpful, actually, to see him more as a father as well. So God's doing a huge amount at the moment. There's so much that comes out every day in my prayer time. It's that knowing that he's saying, come on, if you like.
Yeah. Brilliant, Jackie. And I think just even as you're sharing, just one thing that's really key for all of us to know is often what we're called into and what God's got for us is what's contested the most. And I mean, even just chatting to you now all the way through it is about, you're a caring person, you're a loving person, and it's been about God's love. And yet, like you share, it's been something that's been really contested. The enemy sees that and he fears, the bit of the puzzle, in a sense, where we're all here and between all of us, we make known who Jesus is and we all share different bits. But for all of us to know that probably the stuff you find the hardest and the most difficult is actually because that's where God's called you and it's contested. But I think as Jackie's sharing, God wins and he'll come through and he'll work through it. So bless you, Jackie.
Thanks, Matt.
We've done it.
We've done it. It wasn't so bad once I got going.
Yeah. So thank you, everybody. Bless you, Jackie. Have a good day, and mate, all of you have a good day as well.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.